back to another episode of Scruffy Nerf Herders with your main man, Boogie Bills, and Melgar from Melgar Media. We're going to be talking
Heyo.
about the sweet synopsis for Kenobi Episode 4, or How Obi-Wan Got His Groove Back. A little bit short of an episode, but how'd you feel about this one, Melgar?
I really enjoyed the installment as a whole. I felt a little in my first viewing. I felt the pacing was a little off because you want more, you want a lot, you want all the glitz and glam and all
Yeah.
of the massive battle scenes and saber scenes. But I always take a moment to go back and kind of recap and rewatch some of the major scenes and kind of see where the directors and the writers where they're coming from and what they want you to see up front, but also make you think about what's going on behind the scenes in the episode, you know. So
The
yeah,
vision, the
I think
overall vision.
overall is good. It was definitely a filler to me, but a
Great
filler
filler.
filled with packed Easter eggs and callbacks and just homages to things we've already seen on the big screen.
Yeah, I think it's a filler, but I think a good way to describe filler is it's a filler in of a backstory. We're seeing a lot of mirroring in this episode specifically. We're catching a lot of the prequels. We're catching a lot of the original trilogy, obviously, especially with that back to tank, the harness. We're seeing some of the even the sequels too, with a little bit of the First Order kind of aesthetic with those lightsabers behind Tala in the background. Just a really cool kind of mirroring filler, and a lot of backstory too in that filler, and very subtle backstory. Especially around Leia. We're getting a little bit more about Jabim too, which kind of had some cool backstory in the Clone Wars. So just some really cool stuff, and that's coming from some original characters, but then also some of the newer characters too. So, I love this filler.
I'm really enjoying the vibe, the Rogue One ish Andor vibe that they're putting off, because they know
Yeah.
out of all the Disney movies that they put out, that one got the most love and a lot of work was done to it, and it
Oh, it's
just
just
had
beautiful.
it's held its own little space there. I think the tank scene was really cool because it's the same harness as that we see
Yeah.
Luke in, and yeah, a lot of mirroring images, especially with Leia wearing how they're matching the costumes to outfits that she wore in the OT trilogy.
Yeah.
And
Great point.
I'm really
Great
enjoying
point.
the green jacket that she's been sporting for a while that has that Endor warrior feel to it. So, and I think out of all of the characters and actresses thus far, she has really been impressive to me. I
Incredibly
didn't know
so.
that she was going to be a major plot point or major part of the series, but I'm glad that they are. She's definitely outshining some of the other characters. But to have a childhood actor or child actors be that in the moment and do some of those parts where she just looks like she's the role. She is Princess Leia in her in her
Looks
younger years,
incredible.
I should say. Yeah, she just does a really good job, especially doing some of those serious scenes where the camera is just on her for moments. And I'm sure for a child to go within herself and be like, really take this as an actress very seriously, it can't be easy. So,
Yeah.
but she looks like she's just doing it flawlessly, and I'm enjoying her performance,
Flawlessly.
her audition
Flawlessly.
thus far.
I mean, yeah, undoubtedly this girl's cranking it up to 11, as we were talking about before. She's really bringing it. And, I think you talked about it earlier, her, mirroring later on Leia that we see. We're also really getting that, too, with the way that she's acting, especially under intense interrogation. We're really seeing the honing of just the natural ability of the Force, but also the natural ability of her diplomacy to use words to get what she wants out of people, and to really inflict some damage, when she's supposed to be the one that's, the prisoner, and she's really getting some information out of Revo, I would say, so it's
100%. And I feel that her portrayal of Leia as of right now and the things that she's doing make future lines that we get from Carrie Fisher in the later trilogy more impactful,
So
especially when
impactful.
Luke turns to her and says, "You know, my father was a Jedi. My
Hmm.
father had these abilities. I had these abilities, and my sister as well." And she looks at him and I feel like I always kind of knew.
Yeah.
It watching her go through these moments where she's using it without knowing, I think that it makes those lines a lot more impactful. Now, I was definitely thinking about some of the lines that she gave, like the line where she's like, I'm a princess from Alderaan. We're on a diplomatic mission." That
Yeah.
was very similar to when she's like, "You can't hold me here. I'm a princess from Alderaan." Like,
Yeah. Right.
like, you can't be doing that.
So
It
incredible,
goes
man.
back to, as you saying, just the mirroring and shows why she chose the path that she did,
Hmm.
with the rebellion.
Maybe even the path chose her. Like I know they talk a lot about the chosen one and Anakin and stuff, and I think now we're seeing by filling in the backstory about how his destiny was kind of fulfilled through his children, right? And a lot of that was through Leia. Like she is a professional badass. And she's at what, 10 years I think of age, 9 years of age when this takes place in canon, and she's incredibly strong in every aspect of the word.
Yeah.
And we're seeing great leads from her. Also from Tala, I would say she's doing great. I really like watching her, like you mentioned before, showing us that Rogue One rebel, just the people's elbow, just coming in, cracking skulls. It's just doing whatever it takes in order to get the job done. And we've also we get introduced to Roken, who's also kind of got that mentality too. O'Shea Jackson is just amazing. So it's cool to see those
I,
characters come in.
yeah, I really enjoyed his cameo thus far.
Hmm.
Uh, I was mentioning is that when you come from, his family background and the movies he's done thus far,
Yeah.
it's really cool to see someone kind of hone in and take it very seriously, that Star Wars vibe, to where you can be hardcore gangster or gone through a really rough time
Hmm.
in this era and know that the gangsters that we think about from Earth and from our time period, that hadn't been created per se in a personality. So it's really cool to watch someone have the acting ability to just kind of give you that Star Wars
Hmm.
feel, and you're not looking at them and be like, "Oh, well, he was in that the NWA film," and he's just is like, no,
Yeah.
it really shows the range of certain actors when they can step into a Star
Yeah.
Wars role, and yeah, I just like the whole Rogue Rebellion side
Hmm.
of these shows as well, because it really does touch on how the war was being fought on so many different levels, and
Yeah.
not just on star destroyers
Hmm.
and things like that. It just shows that everyone had a struggle during the Empire's takeover.
Well, and it also humanizes the Empire a lot too, because then it shows how people can be able to be under the sway, so to say, of the Empire, because it offered stability, and in a lot of areas, you might have rebel agents coming in and sowing havoc. We don't know what we've seen so far. We know that guy that Cassian Andor murked, like probably had family. Like
Oh
probably
yeah,
same with Tala. I mean, Obi's leaving a stormtrooper floating face up. There's just a trail of bodies from these rebels,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
for one like it. Just because it shows the dirtiness of the rebels. It just shows war in a little bit more of a truer aspect, and I think that even though it is a kids show, I think that that's a valuable. Me having kids myself, it's a valuable thing to introduce kids in an appropriate manner of how detrimental every aspect of this can be. You know, um, especially with blowing up entire Death Stars, just like thinking of all those people.
Oh yeah,
And the
and
construction workers, man.
it shows how much how scary the empire was to the point where
Yeah,
people were willing to sacrifice themselves, even if they weren't
everything.
technically a part of the rebellion. How they knew if there was any way that they could change or stop what was the grip that the empire was having, that they were willing to put their neck on the line, literally and physically, coming
Yeah.
to
Well, and I think
Darth Vader.
yeah, we really see this in some of the other showings of this, right? Like when we see Saw Gerrera get developed as a character, we see him in Rogue One, but we see his entire character arc throughout Clone Wars and also in Rebels, and he just turns like out there, just because of what the Empire has done to him, his family, and then subsequently what he wreaks on other people because of that. It's just the initial impact of the Empire just created other monsters that would go out, whether they were under, the rebellion or the Empire, which in my opinion was probably the entire like goal of the Emperor. He didn't really want to have an empire, so to say. He wanted to have something that just sowed distress and evil everywhere that it touched, as far out
Yeah.
to the outer rim when he got the chance to get there. Hence why he wanted to bring in Thrawn, and things like that. But
Yeah, he just didn't want any sort of threat
yeah,
to even expose the plans that he had going on that whole time. He just wanted to be the perfect synopsis, to where spies and everything were crushed under the heel of his boot.
Yeah.
That would just shake the entire galaxy to its core. And I think you see a lot of that when we go to the Inquisitor's home base, like
Yeah.
the way that he enters the location of it. It's just everything is always like even Vader's castle. They're all like pointing, up into
yeah,
the galaxy, as in to be like,
very
we're
sharp,
on the rise.
inhospitable.
We're something to be reckoned with. And jumping into that whole scene when he enters that, it's this is where the filler gets fun. This is where the fun begins for me.
Oh yeah. Well, and we actually that Inquisitor base, and later on we see the stasis chamber. I'm not sure, they could be either in full stasis, like a carbonite sort of a deal, or dead in stasis. Possibly cloning chambers as well too. But that base is gnarly. We get a chance to glimpse that out before in Rebels in one of the episodes when they go in there. Actually, they get lured in, Kanan Jarrus does, to find Luminara and Dooley. So we kind of just find out that Inquisitor base is just a base of horrors. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
they've got all sorts of stuff going on there. And who's in there? No sweat, just, hey, just killing it is Leia. And I think that's another testament of how much of a badass she is. We see Obi-Wan getting his groove back, finding Leia, pushing out on those glass walls, using his force powers, deflecting bolts back, like his lightsaber form is perfected and what he's the best at. So it's great to see that kind of all go down in this place of horrors,
Yeah, I feel that it's very much the montage of him shaking off the cobwebs of his lightsaber
Yeah.
skill and ability, as well as his force ability, because he has been hiding it for so long in order not to be found. A lot of this
Shaking
is
that dust
that,
off.
and that also relates to the pace of the show, of kind of why I'm sure a lot of people are like, I wish more would happen. I got it. I see that Obi-Wan is down on his luck and the lowest. It's not really that. It's that he has just been hermit hiding for so long to save these two kids, and any other Jedi that bringing it back out, he's finding is a little harder than he anticipated.
Yeah.
So I think that is really our montage, Rocky montage, is when he's
Pushing it to
blocking the
limit,
blaster
for sure.
fire and using the force to hold the glass together. It's really him coming back into the force.
Yeah.
And I've liked a lot of seeing those glimpses of old Obi-Wan, even when he swam into the Inquisitorium, where he's got the old school little mouth breather
Yeah.
piece from the Phantom Menace.
Yeah.
I thought that's a nice little
bit more
throwback as well.
mirroring.
But
Yeah.
I feel like that was just another scene showing him getting back to his skill set, because that was one of the first times that we see him after he's on that ship, and then they go down to Naboo, and you really start to get to see how well trained he is, because he doesn't even question it when they go in the water. Him and Qui-Gon, he's just like, let's go, mouthpiece.
Let's do this,
let's
baby.
roll.
Let's do this.
You know,
Yeah.
so I think that this is all kind of showing that it's all still there in the background, but he really needs to, go deep within himself, and eventually, I'm sure Qui-Gon will either talk to him through the Force or show up, and that'll be one of the pinnacle points where he just fully comes back into Obi-Wan status.
Oh, yeah.